Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the wrap-up video for my month on the GAPS diet, which is the Gut and Psychology Syndrome diet created by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, which basically links the intestinal health with brain health because of the overwhelming science that's come out recently confirming the presence, a large presence of neurotransmitters actually in the intestines that sends messages to the brain and whatnot. So I thought that with me just doing the ketogenic diet, this would be a really good diet for me to continue investigating my own brain health and seizures and whatnot. And I haven't had any this month, so I'm really, really excited. It's awesome. This diet was also put together for people with learning behaviors like ADHD, autism, dyslexia. People have also used this diet that have IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's. There's a woman that cured 20 years worth of migraines by doing the GAPS diet. So the healing potential is pretty big with this one. So the full-blown GAPS diet takes a while to actually work up to. And when you're in full-blown GAPS diet, it's pretty similar to a paleo style diet where you're not eating grains or sugars or certain legumes. You can have lentils on the full-blown GAPS, but there's 6 stages that you go through before you're in full-blown GAPS mode. I did 5 days per stage. Some people will do stage 1 for 3 days, then they'll move on to stage 2, then they might do stage 3 for 3 weeks, depending on how their bodies feel. So the really cool thing about the GAPS diet is that it really makes you pay attention to what's happening in your body so that you can note the reactions to certain foods, and therefore you yourself are able to say, you know what, I'm sensitive to this food, or this food used to give me trouble, but all of a sudden now it's totally fine because it has the power to heal. So the first stage is basically getting rid of all the foods that could aggravate your intestines or can cause your bacterial intestinal flora to be off, and replace them with foods that nourish and heal your intestines. So first stage is just bone broth with boiled veggies, meats, and animal fats. And that's about it. You can add a tablespoon or 2 of fermented juice from sauerkraut into your soups, as well as a little bit of 24-hour fermented yogurt that you make yourself, and you ferment it for 24 hours so it eats the lactose up so it doesn't feed your bacteria, your bad bacteria, and it just delivers a super oomph of probiotics. So the thing about the GAPS diet is it wants to rebuild your intestinal flora, which apparently also makes up about 80% of your immune system, right down there. So you want to take care of it. It's like your inner garden. You want to water it. You want to nourish it properly, right? Just like you don't want to eat a bunch of pesticide foods. You don't want to be spoiling that inner garden down there. You really want to be feeding it properly. And the GAPS diet is really good for saying, you know what, let's replant, let's reharvest, let's start to really do some healing work with that. Stage 2, you get to add a bit of egg yolks to your soups. Stage 3, you get to add fully cooked eggs, and then the moment that everyone waits for when you're doing intro, which is the GAPS pancake. So you get to add pureed squash with eggs and homemade almond butter, and you fry it up in some coconut oil, and you're like, I get the pancake, and it's really exciting. You can also have a little bit of honey in the diet as well because it's antiviral, microbial, and antibacterial, so you can use honey on your pancake, and it's kind of a little treat. Now the emphasis, of course, has to remain on the vegetables and meats and fats, but you do eventually get to add in almond flour products, almond milk products, coconut flour, and so on. So as long as you're making the emphasis of your meals something fermented, vegetables, and meat and broth based, that'll basically take you up to stage 6, which is you get raw veggies, cooked veggies, you get some fruit, you get to not use broth so much, you can actually serve food on a plate. You can have the healthy fat really early on, like you can have avocados in stage 2 or 3, I believe. So it does get better along the way, which you have to remember when you're in the intro stage or stage 1, you think it's never going to end. And it's up to you to do it on your own pace. I did a super quick crash course. Some people work up the stages for 6 months. Some people stay on the almost last stage for 5, up to 2 years. So it's really up to you, which is cool. This diet's self-guided in that way as well. The main difference that I noticed between this diet and GAPS diet, and the keto diet, is that this is more of a healing and detoxification protocol than it is just a shift in diet. With a ketogenic diet, you're shifting your body from using glucose as fuel to fat as fuel. With the GAPS diet, you are doing a renovation inside of your intestines. So with the keto diet, there's bound to be some side effects. There is bound to be some die-off of sugars and grains leaving your body, but it's not as intense, and it's not the intention like the GAPS diet. So Dr. Natasha has protocols that she doesn't recommend. She basically says you have to do this as part of the GAPS diets. It's not just the diet, it's these detoxification methods as well. One is daily Epsom salts bath. This is to ease the detoxification process that your body's going through. And it's awesome because you get to have a bath every night and just kind of settle down, calm yourself, remind yourself why you're doing the diet, have some time to yourself, get a nice little sweat going, so that's good. Then she also recommends colonics and enemas, so that's intestinal irrigation, to help again ease your body from dealing with all the die-off that's happening, all the bad stuff that wants to leave your body. So I was in week 2 and doing the enemas every other day. I've done them before, so I feel safe and comfortable doing them. And there was some pretty gnarly stuff starting to come out of me into the toilet. And I was like, okay, this is working. Like, stuff's happening right now. Then about a day later, I got a really insane sugar and grain craving. I was like, uh-oh, what's happening here? I haven't felt this for a while. I was feeling tired, and I got hit with like a really huge kind of like full body ache flu, which was probably die-off happening as well. But I was like, oh, you know what, just go eat a muffin, it's okay. The voice came back, and that happened a few days in a row, and I got really mad, really emotional, and I went to my Chinese medicine doctor for support, who basically said, yep, there's lots of free-floating yeast and bacteria, and you also have parasites, and they're awake, and they're hungry, and they're mad for being disturbed, so they want to be fed so that they can go back to their happy place. So he gave me some stuff to help kind of support the detox, and I just tried to get back on the diet as much as possible for the last stages, which was easier because I could have things like carrot juice and cooked applesauce and eventually add more raw food, so it was a little bit more easier for me to eat on the go. But that was definitely like, whoa, this is potentially a very, very, very powerful diet for healing. So basically, who I would recommend, I would not recommend this diet for someone that's just kind of curious and I'm kind of interested in how I'd feel relieving myself from grains and sugars. If you're just kind of curious, do the paleo diet or do the ketogenic diet as a second alternative. But don't do the GAPS diet unless you sincerely want to embark on a journey for healing. You have to basically be prepared, and you have to set yourself game plans. You have to meal prep so that you know if you are out for the day, you have your thermos of soup with you. It's very difficult to eat out on the GAPS diet, especially in the beginning stages. Later stages and full-blown GAPS, not so much, but in the beginning stages, it's very, very difficult to eat out. You can't trust soup in a restaurant because you don't know what the broth base is. So I would recommend it for somebody that's looking for a long-term healing solution to any kind of digestive, intestinal, or even kind of mood, brain issues that are happening as well. The 2 books that I used to carry myself through the diet, one is the GAPS Guide, and it's kind of the unofficial guide to the GAPS diet. And it's written by a mother who went on the journey for her autistic son, and it's one of the first GAPS books ever written. And it kind of says the highs and the lows, and it gives you tips and the trials and errors that she went through, and it has a lot of recipes. And then the second book that I used was called Heal Your Gut, and it's a cookbook that has all the stages of the GAPS diet and recipes for each one. So that's really good because you can throw yourself a meal plan together, no problem with that book. And the author of that was also a mother who put her whole family on the diet. And it's great because she has testimonies too about, you know, her kids and how her family went through it. So this is a diet that you can do as a whole family. I know the first kind of impression would be like, yeah, right, my kids would never go for that. But it's pretty amazing, like when you stick together and do something as a family with intentions in mind, then you can actually do this all together, which would be a really neat experience to do. And you know, you can offer some reward and just say, you know, if we can make it 6 months on this, maybe let's go for a vacation or let's go shopping or something like that. Or go to a sporting event or just something that you can do as a family to celebrate, right? And I think that might make it easier to stick to goals like that. So it is possible to do this as a family, and it is possible to see the change when you start introducing more fermented foods and probiotics into someone's diet. The only other supplements she really recommends is cod liver oil and digestive enzymes. So I would recommend it. This is a huge diet that I would recommend for people seeking, like I said, a long-term healing solution. I would not do it in the summertime because I think that it would be out of season to start it, just because the emphasis is on really well-cooked meats and vegetables and broths and casseroles. But if you are sincerely interested in starting this diet, I would pick a date in the fall, and let's start now, reading and researching and buying the yogurt maker and buying a dehydrator and kind of getting your supplies in gear and maybe cleaning out the pantry of stuff that you know you're not going to need, and maybe take July and give up grains, and August you give up sugar, and make yourself a little game plan, because the more prepared you can be doing this diet, the more success you're going to have. Like, I just did a month crash course and I was like, this is powerful, and you have to be prepared to make a lot of stuff at home. You got to be prepared to learn how to make yogurt and making almond milk and almond flour, which is all very simple and very easy. It just seems overwhelming. You even make your own sauerkraut if you like, right? So take a few months to just start to make those things so that it's not so overwhelming when you're in intro stage being like, oh my God, I need to make the yogurt now and I've never done it. So that's what I could say about the GAPS diet. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below, or else you can even send me an email. There's so many resources and lots of GAPS forums out there as well for people. And for me, the next diet that I'm going to be trying is one particularly that is a parasite protocol. And I'm going to be using my knowledge of the foods that destroy parasites and kind of create my own 2-week program, and then I'm going to transition into a candida diet so that I can introduce foods back in that aren't going to cause an overgrowth of yeast in my system. And then from here on in, I'll probably getting myself prepared for the more vegetarian stages that I'm going to be trying through the warmer months, and then come the fall, I'll go back to the meat and soup-based diets to see how I feel. So that's about it. Thanks so much, and stay tuned for what's next. I won't be posting any pictures, but stay tuned. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.